I'm making this video as a special request for one of my clients. We are halfway through our Reclaim Your Power from Bulimia program. You're in the week where we're talking about the reality that when we feel urges to engage in eating disorder behavior or disordered eating, that's binging, purging, restricting, the urge to engage in the behaviors is about something much deeper. Your eating disorder is really just a coping mechanism. Understanding what's happening in your body, what is your body telling you through your emotions, and what are your thoughts feeding you, right? What beliefs do you have? And then are you replaying those beliefs or those negative thoughts over and over again that are creating emotions like anxiety, fear, loneliness, sadness, right? And so we're in the week where we're understanding all of that. We're diving a lot deeper, and we're understanding that the urges to engage in behavior are really us trying to cope with feelings that are heavy, and deep down those are rooted in unmet needs, and your unmet need could look very different than someone else's. And that's why eating disorders manifest differently from person to person. Recovery is really up to you as an individual, right? You deciding to take charge, you deciding to face on these emotions head on, and deciding that, these emotions are no longer gonna rule my life. They're not going to control my life. Going back to unmet needs, speaking from personal experience, some of my deepest unmet need was acceptance. As a 27-year-old woman, I did not know how to regulate myself. I didn't know how to regulate when I felt sad, when I felt lonely, when I was angry, when I was anxious. Which is why not having the self-regulation tools and not being able to have positive coping mechanisms for those big heavy emotions, and then having unmet needs of not feeling accepted and not feeling loved, it just created this storm that it makes sense why I would turn to an eating disorder to try to cope. I say this so that if you're somebody who is struggling with an eating disorder right now, and you've struggled with it for a while, that you're not so hard on yourself. Because I've talked to so many people and who've gone to treatment centers, who have therapists, who have dietitians, and even if they've disclosed to a loved one, right, the advice that a lot of people get is just be stronger, have more willpower, just stop eating or eat more, right? And to us, it's like, if it was that easy, we would have done it a long time ago, right? And so that's just to speak to the reality that your eating disorder is more than just behaviors, right? There's something deeper that's driving that urge to engage in the behavior. You're trying to disassociate from those negative emotions, those negative feelings, and we turn to disordered eating to try to not deal or disconnect or take control. I was talking to my client about the reality that under all of the behaviors, under all of the negative emotions, the negative thoughts really are unmet needs, right? And it's your job to figure out what your unmet need is. And it may seem like this really hard, scary endeavor for a lot of us, right? Because it's things that we've been running away from for forever. She asked me, how did you meet your needs? And we both talked about the fact that if you were never taught, never guided on how to meet your needs, or your needs never met, then how are you expected to just have the tools from one day to another to meet those needs, right? How do I, make myself feel accepted? How do I make myself feel loved if I don't have an example to go off of? In my family, I was not given tender love and care. I wasn't told, we were never told I love you. We never really were affectionate, and so it was hard. How do I do that for myself? We are in 2025, and so technology is just really advanced, and the internet is this vast black hole of knowledge. A lot of my skill building with meeting my own needs were turning to guided meditations because I didn't have the language. If I was feeling lonely, how do I get myself to understand that I'm not really lonely? Or what is it that I'm missing if I'm feeling loneliness, and how can I start to give that to myself? How can I start to seek that and build that within my life, right? If I didn't have self-love and I didn't know how to talk to myself in a kind way, where was I going to get that language, or where was I going to build those skills? It was really through guided meditations, because guided meditations, you're practicing mindfulness and you're learning how to just be in the present moment, be within your body, be within yourself in stillness. And a lot of us don't know how to be in stillness. We're always looking for a distraction. We're always looking for something to feed us, right? Make us feel good, to distract us so that we don't have to be super in tune with those things that kind of bring up, uncomfortable emotions. So the guided meditation, somebody is guiding you through coming to a place where you're okay in stillness, where you're okay being very mindful, where you're okay being very present in your body, in your mind, and in the moment, wherever it is that you are, in time and space. And then they're also giving you the language of self-love, of how to accept yourself. I'll go on YouTube and I'll put guided meditation for self-love, guided meditation for loneliness, guided meditation for anxiety, guided meditation for letting go. When I started to look up meditations for loneliness, it ultimately teaches you how connected you actually really are. And in practice, like deep breathing and focusing on things like as simple as your breath, you get to understand how beautiful and complex you are just by existing. How amazing and beautiful your body is in the simple mechanisms of breathing in oxygen, everything it does in your body, how it pumps to how it gets in your blood and it pumps to the heart and it gives it to your cells and your cells recreate, how you release carbon dioxide and how nature, right, trees and the plants feed off from the carbon dioxide and give off oxygen, right? From something as simple as your breath, understanding that you are ultimately connected to every living thing on this earth, right? And some of you guys may be looking at me like, it's like you're crazy, mumbo jumbo, whatever. This is my journey, right? And this is how I'm telling you that I was able to overcome those feelings of loneliness and really teach myself and come to a place where I've healed, and it really allows you to switch your mindset. And once you're able to switch your mindset, you open yourself up to so many other things. When I started my healing journey, before all that, I wasn't open to any kind of friendship, any kind of connection from people. And so if I'm so stuck deep down in my feelings of anger and loneliness, I would have never allowed anybody to enter my life as a mentor, as a coach, as a friend. If this resonates with you, it's resonating with you. If it doesn't resonate with you, then it's not meant for you. It's very simple. And one of the things that meditation taught me is how I can give myself the feeling of being accepted, of being loved, and as simple things as like placing my hand over my heart, and ultimately teaching me that I have the power to give myself the feelings, right? The feelings of love, the feelings of acceptance, the feelings of belonging, all the feelings that I'm seeking from external validation or from other people. I have the power to give that to myself. And that starts with being connected with who I am, with understanding myself, my feelings, my emotions, my thoughts. Through that, also honoring your emotions, not running away from them, not ignoring them, not avoiding them, not pushing them down to the point where you don't feel anything. I'm not trying to control them, where I don't want to feel lonely, I'm not gonna feel lonely. We do that. I've done it. I used to do it a lot. And with my recovery, with mindfulness, with meditations, you really learn what a disservice you do to yourself when you do that, and you continue to do that, and how disconnected you are with yourself. You end up turning to negative coping mechanisms, whether it's an eating disorder, substance abuse, whatever it is. If you're not connected with yourself and you're constantly trying to avoid, ignore, control, self-soothe in a negative way, you're not in control of your life. And I think the biggest gift that meditation has taught me is learning to visualize younger me and visualizing how I, as an adult, would care for her in the moments where she felt sad or where something happened to her and she needed support and she needed a hug and she needed to be validated. That is the biggest gift you can give yourself. Because if we, take a quick second to think about how we treat others and how much we do for others and how we come from such a loving, tender, empathetic place for other people, but then turning and being able to do that for ourselves is almost impossible. But that's not fair. If you have pictures of you as a child, I encourage you to put them up on a wall in a room where you always can see them, or put them on your wallpaper, whatever it is where you can remind yourself of younger you and how you would treat her.